welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So it's been quite a while since I've done a pick a card about work, vocation, life path in that sense, business and so forth. Just and this is what this is about. This is about, what is your career or work or business reputation, and how can you leverage that and build that to your best and greatest success. When I first started the channel, anybody who knows of me, who's been following for a while, probably knows that I did a lot of HR and organisational strategy roles before I did this. And so I really did think, I'll do quite a bit around career because people will be interested in that. And when I started, it really probably wasn't the main focus of the people who started coming to me. So I haven't done a lot of them. But two things that were interesting that happened. I did do quite early in the piece a How Are You Seen at Work video, which at the time was a bit of a slow burn, but is now one of my most viewed videos. And I do find with private readings that people come to me a lot about this. So I do think there's an interest out there. And so I thought every once in a while I want to do it. And then I just had the most perfect inspiration, which is that I just purchased a deck, which I think is kind of like career archetypes. It's called the Career Oracle, from an Etsy store called Divination Hub. You see three of the cards there. We're going to heavily use this deck in this reading. And I kind of think Divination Hub, they do have all these different topics. And like, just so you know, when I sort of showcase, particular creators or whatever, that's part of my mission statement. I really want to help independent creators by buying their product and also by using it and showcasing it. I don't have any affiliation with them. I don't know them. I asked them, like any other creator, if I could use their works publicly, but that's it. So I always want to make clear that I'm not pushing something for any personal gain. I'm just doing this in case people watching this are interested in getting the deck, or even just checking them out, because I kind of think they should get the honorary title of Oracle Deck Whisperer or something, because they're so clever. This is so clever, and I've already started using it in private readings, and it's definitely had some good feedback. And I've also got a romance archetypes deck from them, which you'll probably see coming up in readings, and it certainly gets used in private readings. And I've got a feeling I'll go back and get some of their other decks. They just do all these really interesting, different sort of decks. So I do recommend for the readers out there that are looking for something a bit unique, maybe check it out, see if it's your style. You certainly get to see how it operates here. But what I really love about it is kind of, to me, it's like career archetypes. It's like the kind of energies, the kind of qualities that one might have, which in a reading like this could literally be something about what you do, the industry you're in, the kind of role you have, or it could be qualities that you bring in a kind of unique kind of recipe for success. So that's kind of how we'll be using it. And we'll be looking at how you're viewed at the moment, either in a business if you're running a business, or in a career in an organisation if you're in an organisation. And we'll be looking at generally how you're viewed at the moment, kind of what energies or essences of you are sort of like associated with you. And we're going to look at from different perspectives. We'll look at from managers or clients. We're going to look from peers or colleagues or collaborators, and we're going to look from competitors. And a little bit later in the reading, we're going to look at what does your competitors, your chief competitors have, and how are they viewed, so that you also can kind of pitch yourself against that. Not in some negative way, but in a way that sort of enhances your outcomes. So you're going to see a lot of this deck. There's a lot of cards that I'm using from it. It's a very big deck. There's a lot of cards. So you'll see it in action. But I think it's really, as I say, from the private readings I've been doing, it's really good at getting a kind of a good distillation of what is unique about people and what they can use. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I love this deck. So, and as I said, it seemed like the perfect reason to do another career or business type reading. So I hope you enjoy that it is helpful and insightful for you. Now, as I said, we're going to be looking at all those different aspects, but the first aspect is general, and one of the cards that's going to be helping describe that is the first card here, so it helps with choice. So I shuffled and I asked for for each pile one of the aspects that they're generally seen as part of their reputation, and then we'll have two others, and then under here we have a number of other cards that pick up all the other elements as well. So I don't know what they are. These are the only ones I know at this point. But for pile number one, we have the leader. Now, this card often comes up around financial stuff, but it doesn't mean that you have to be into financial issues or whatever. But it does talk about careers in management and leadership. But I think it definitely would sense a sense of being a leader, whether a leader positionally or or a leader in the market or a thought leader or something like that. So if that energy calls you, that could be your pile. For pile number 2, we have the go-getter. So very ambitious, getting on with it, going for things, a bit innovative. That's the sort of energy I get off that. And for pile number 3, the collaboration conductor. So someone who's really good at working with other people, really good at what I often call the Gestalt effect, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and you bring together different skills and teams. So there are 3 different ways that you could be seen. And as I say, it could have to do very specifically with a job that you have or a position that you have, for instance. But I think these ones actually, what I like about them is they're very broad and could just be part of the energy you bring to any type of role. If you feel drawn to more than one, by all means go to more than one. It might be that there's a kind of amalgam of all of this across the board, or you might be a bit of a polymath and you draw upon different skills and different parts of your reputation suite, in a sense, at different times. So that's up to you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So the first 3 cards here, including the leader, are a kind of an overview of if you were going to get a general snapshot of how people view you in your business or in your workplace. These are 3 elements that are pretty common to what people see in you. We're going to then draw from this pile here, which is the rest of the deck that was under the leader. Firstly, to look at how managers or clients view you, then your collaborators or your peers, and then the competitors. But starting with this, so what I like here is that you could very well be in a leadership role, or you could be on a leadership path. It'll be very interesting to see what the managers or the business clients think, because this is an energy. If this is part of your reputation, people see you as someone who's on the road upwards, someone who people will follow, someone who people respect. Now, this could be because of great proficiency in a particular skill, qualification, or something like that. It could be something to do with your natural energy. Could be how you can deal with other people. Could be that you're always cutting edge. I do think there's a very strong element actually of cutting edge here, or of innovation with creativity curator. This is talking about taking what could be creative in a team or in a group, and curation to me suggests really being able to work out where do you place it. So if this was in a business, it'd be like there are all these ideas and you're dealing with other people, and so forth, or even in an organization. Either way, lots of ideas. And whether you're literally the manager or the leader, the team leader or something like that, or the owner of the business, or whether you're just someone who's in the business, in the group, it's like you're the natural person who, when it's like, here's some wonderful ideas, what do we do first? How do we let this grow? How do we know where to put this? How do we know how to place it? Curation to me suggests, the sort of sense of being able to nourish things in their right place at their right time and know the right audience. And I think part of the reason that you're seen as a leader in this way is I think that you are a bit of a polymath. It's funny that I sort of said that at the beginning in the introduction, because I think you are. There's quite a number of things that you're good at, because the other thing here is a multitasker. So you're someone who can, I think, look at creative projects, creative energy, and bring your own creativity into it. But I think you can almost get a kind of a higher level perspective to say, what needs to be done first? Who is best to do this? How do we do it together? How do we get the timing right? How do we get the placement right? It's because you see both the big picture as a leader, but you also see what are the constituent elements to make something happen. So this is really powerful for a leader, I have to say. I do think that there's a very strong energy for this pile where you're meant to be a leader, a thought leader or a manager or a business owner or something like that, because you have a vision, but you also understand it. What I kind of get is those sort of people who get to the top of the ladder in an organisation, or possibly who start their own business and build it, where they've started from the ground up almost. They really understand the business. They understand the industry. They understand all of those things. So as I say, it's sort of being both almost the architect, which is the leadership sort of thing, but also the engineer. Like you have a bit of both, and then throw into the mix creativity. So this makes you sort of extremely good for your own sort of business, but also for being a leader in any type of industry or any type of work that needs a creative and new approach, but where multiple aspects are involved. So, really big service delivery organisations have this, because to actually, people sort of think, oh, well, the trains just run on time, or, like our food turns up in, a a grocery store, but there's an enormous amount of logistics that goes into that. And there are people who are extremely good at that. Or you could be at the other end where it's like, it's not service delivery, it's something like a very creative thing. You know, you're running an art gallery. And so you become someone who really knows how to not only find the right creativity and know when is the right time in the zeitgeist to do it, but you also can work out how to task it. So it's a really good thing. It's kind of like you're at both ends of the continuum, and it's not common, I have to say. So that's really good. But I think the thing, this is the engine room of it. There's a kind of innovation, and you are seen this way. You are seen as someone who can really help birth new things at the right time in the right place. So let's firstly see, how do either your managers, if you're in an organisation, or your clients, because they're the ones, these are the people who are very, very important in what your reputation, where it's going to take you, how they view you. So we have the visionary, that doesn't surprise me, and the problem solver. There you go. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Because it's like the creativity and the vision is like, I can see where we're going now in this business, in this organisation, but I also know how to get there. And again, this is rare, Paul, and you're actually quite rare. Trust me on this. As I say, this was my job to look at organisations and skills and capability and how to get the right people in the right place. So I know how rare this is. We normally have someone who's a visionary and they're a big picture thinker, but they're not necessarily in the detail and they're not necessarily the problem solvers. But I feel you are, like you are quite multi-talented on that level. And as I say, you're kind of at opposite ends of the continuum, which is really rare and really helpful. So one of the reasons why I think you'd be on a leadership track, or how you would actually lead out and be seen, like if you're in a business, you're going to be the sort of person who eventually, TED Talks wants to have you come and talk or something like that. There's that kind of element to you, which is the creativity. But you can really get it done. And I think it's also why I was thinking about those logistical jobs, because they're like some sort of combination of playing sort of like master level chess and designing a clock. Like it's very intricate. Like it's a very, very difficult thing. So I think you balance both of those things really beautifully, and that's how you're seen. You're definitely seen as that, not only the person who has the ideas, but the person who can kind of get things done. So that's really, really positive. Regardless of whatever, competitors or whatever want, this is a very strong energy to have. So let's have a look at what your peers, colleagues, or if you're in a business, maybe consultants who work with you or people that you contract or whatever, that kind of energy think. Skill synergy, that makes sense as well too. The guardian, okay, all right. So when you're looking at the people that you work with, one of the reasons why I think, I'm going to talk about it first as though this is within an organisation, and then we can extrapolate that out to what it would be for, in a business. But your team, people you work with, your peers, they see you as someone who understands who's the person to do what. So you really do get that. You get capability. You get what that is. And as I say, it's the Gestalt effect. It's kind of, how to bring the right teams together, the right people together, and at the right time. And you're very much someone who protects. So this is safeguarding. You'd be the safeguarding, the people around you feel that you safeguard, I think, both what thing is that you're trying to nurture and create. It's kind of very Empress energy, but in a corporate environment or something like that kind of thing. So they trust you, and they trust you that you protect the skills and so forth, and you support them. So one of the things that's really great about you is that you don't sort of sit there and say, here's a team of people and these two are the most important. You might say at a particular thing for a particular task they might be, but there's not a sense there, and nobody feels in this that their skills are being downplayed. People feel protected, and they also feel like they're going to be working with someone who's going to get the thing done, who understands it all and respects all the processes involved in it. So that's really, really positive. You really get how to do things. So let's see what your competitors think. So, and in a business or in a consultancy or whatever, if somebody's coming to work with you or collaborate with you, they're going to feel safe, that you will guard what is meant to be done. You won't charge too much around the financial thing. You're going to do the right thing. There's a kind of a real sense of true respect for those that you work with. Let's look at the competitors. So they think, the academic path, the optimist. Okay, all right. So your competitors, Now this, as I say, this could be people who are competing for you for the leadership pathway in an organisation, or it could be people who are in whatever field you're in out there. They may think that, the interesting thing here is I suspect this means that you've either studied a lot or they think that you have, like you're very clever. And they may think that some of your vision and how it can be done is academic and you're too optimistic. Like if they were going to try and undermine you on some level, and that's what competitors try to do, consciously or unconsciously, I think they try to say it's academic, it's not practical. And it's odd because you actually are practical. What this might be saying is that what they see most is the vision and the ideas and the early stages of things. They're not seeing how you deal with other people. Now that's a good thing in many ways. If they think you're overly optimistic and it's all academic, then they're going to be almost, what they say, you snooze, you lose. They're not going to be really watching for what you develop because they're going to think that, yeah, that all sounds great. But they're the kind of naysayer people in the organisation. They're like, oh, yeah. So if you went into a team and it was like, let's do that, we can really change this, we can really bring in this sort of stuff, here's how we can, bring in the right people and we can change the sort of policy around it or whatever, they'd be like, oh, yeah, seen that before. And what they've probably seen is the visionary who doesn't have your skills of the problem solving as well. But I think this is kind of good. It'll be interesting to see what they have up their sleeve because these cards here, which we'll look at a bit later, is what they have in their kit bag and how they're seen. But I think already we see that they don't fully understand that you've got the goods. You know what you're doing. So really good start, really good start. So let's use a bit of tarot. So I wanted to use a tarot that was very colourful and bright and all about energy because I figure if we're looking about how to sort of enhance sort of your career reputation, your business reputation, let's put some energy into it. So I'm using the Radiant Wilds Tarot. And we're going to ask firstly what's really working well for you in how your reputation is. Then we're going to ask what could you change or enhance to get even better results. Then we're going to use tarot first to have a look at what your competitors have, and then we'll use the remaining cards there to sort of add some other information to that. Because it is important with your reputation to understand it not only in how every different sort of people view you, but also in sort of understanding how it compares with somebody who might be after the same sort of outcome as you. So firstly, what is working particularly well for you with your reputation at the moment? Knight of Pentacles, the Moon, Nine of Cups. It's really saying what we've already seen. Eight of Wands, Knight of Wands. Now, isn't that interesting? For a start, everything's upright and they see you as an optimist. Now, I don't necessarily see reversals as negative, really, but it is interesting sometimes just energetically. I also think that reversals are often things that are a bit hidden or a bit unconscious, whereas upright is very much seen. So you're very seen. Like what you're doing is very seen. But I think, the pessimists wouldn't necessarily see some of this. So that's interesting. So firstly, these three cards together. Knight of Pentacles, getting on with it, getting it done, seeing it through. Another thing that happens sometimes with people who are visionary is that they often come in and they say, here's the vision, and then they wander off and do something else. And it really, a lot of the time when the vision doesn't work is that they're not there through the whole thing because they like the creative spark, but not necessarily the curation of it. This is you. This is the thing that's different. You bring multitasking into it. So you have a dedication. You'll see it through. You're there with your people. You're there with the situation, and you've got a really good business acumen. You really understand how, as I say, the problem solving, how to make this happen. Highly psychic, actually. The interesting thing here, the visionary energy and all that sort of stuff, I think comes from a kind of psychic connection. And you do see where things are hidden, what needs to be understood. You do it through the frame of what is the aim, the Nine of Cups, what is the wish. You uncover what you need. This is the problem solver. You go in and it's kind of, you look at it and you go, what can we do? Not this energy over here of, oh, it's all too hard. There's that, one of the Kennedys said something about looking at the world and not asking why, but asking why not or something. There's a quote like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but that's the kind of energy here. You're more like, why not? let's uncover and work it out, because we can do it. We can be dedicated and we can do it, and we can bring everything to the surface. You may do this particularly. There might be something in you where you are called upon to do this in groups where there's been a lot of kind of pessimism, or people are demoralised, or things have got stuck. You might, particularly with the way that managers see you, or it could be something that you do with your work, that you go in and you kind of like revive the dream and revive the vision and revive the creativity. And you can go in and understand the emotions and what's underneath to bring that to the surface. That's working really, really well for you. Also, you're quick. You're very quick, and you have a very free style. You're not sort of very bureaucratic. You understand, and I'm saying that like you don't have to be working in a quote unquote government organisation for bureaucracy. Any large organisation, or even to some degree any small business, has some bureaucracy associated with it. That's not you understand it, you can deal with it, but you move quickly. You're not sort of like held down by kind of like what is almost cowardice, sort of like camouflaged as caution. You're not that sort of person. And with Knight of Wands, there's a huge amount of energy. You bring a huge amount of energy. And it's interesting because, again, you're kind of straddling these two opposites. And what's happened here is that is to that and that is to that, because this is the part of you that sees it all the way through and understands how to do it and is dedicated. This is the part that's really a leader, charismatic, takes it forward. So it really is the balance. It's what is unusual about you and what really works for you is the fact that you balance both those things. And it would work equally well in either your own business or in an organisation. Okay, so then what should you change or enhance? I don't think there's a lot to change here, so it's probably what to enhance. But nevertheless, there could be something. Is there anything sort of that you need to kind of reconsider, change, or even bring forward more that will make you even more successful and build your reputation even more? The Chariot reversed, the Nine of Swords, the Six of Pentacles reversed, the Hierophant reversed. Okay, all right. So this is like, this is like you're a virtuoso, because I think you are. That's why I was thinking like, I don't even know what to do with this line for you guys. But this is like, when you are a virtuoso, and this is like how you make it even just that little bit better. This is like awareness at the margins, just things to sort of consider, okay? So firstly, as I said, you may be naturally attracted to or placed in, because of your personality and your abilities, into places that have a lot of, they're stuck, or there's a sense of worry or something like that. So that, I think this is saying that is a particular place for you where you could really grow and build your reputation if you're not already doing it, because you can do it. But when you do it, it's saying there's a particular way of doing it. So I think, if you were to sort of go into some sort of like kind of say consultancy to sort of help people sort of like organisations move through that, or if you took some sort of internal role like that, and this is just an example, then it's saying that this is sort of something you really can leverage, because this is sort of this stuck energy because of worry. But you have to be a leader without appearing to lead, because Six of Pentacles suggests you don't come in and just go, here's the answer. And there may be just a little bit of a tendency, if you find something really stuck, where you kind of want to go, because you move very quickly, and because you really understand it, you want to go, now we'll do this and this and this and this. But it's really important to really bring about the best outcome, that you deal with people as an equal. And it's almost as though your skills, you could go up the ladder, you could become a CEO, anything like that with these abilities. No argument at all against that, and you could certainly run your own business. But with the Hierophant reversed, it's like you come in as a leader without making it obvious that you're a leader. So it could be, as I say, as a consultant, or it could be that you work a lot with your peers and a lot with collaboration, because it's not conventional with the Hierophant reversed. And it's not about being one step above people. Even if you are, it's almost like the only thing to be aware of is that you might have this tendency, as I say, because you're very quick and you can see what could happen, of like suddenly jumping into the full-blown leader manager and saying, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And people would do it, but somehow that wouldn't build your reputation as much as you bring it out in others so that they feel we're all equals and we're all doing it. This is a very fine-tuned thing. It's like you're already really good at this, but it's like just being aware that because you understand all of it and because you have this very quick personality, that's the one thing where you could end up and then you don't get the full ability of all the people and all their abilities. It's like what you're being invited to do here is think about how you create your sort of like the person who would take over after you, how you create that same energy of vision and problem solving, but also understanding how to deal with people and bring out the best in people. So it's very interesting. It's very nuanced, but it's the one thing to really think about. So then let's pull out 3 cards for, what do your competitors bring to the table? And then we're going to have a look over here with some of these cards as well, just to see what else we get. But firstly with tarot, what are your competitors bringing to the table at the moment? 4 of Pentacles reversed, the Empress reversed, the 5 of Swords reversed. One of the things actually I'm just suddenly, and it is probably connected to the competitors, but I'm just wanting to say this. If around this sort of like line about what you could sort of think about or do differently, if you are thinking about wanting to use these skills for a business, I think it would be amazing as some sort of consultant, business efficiency consultant, creativity, inspire consultant, business turnaround consultant, any of those sort of things if you're interested in it. But I think that it's important that like one of the ways maybe that you could enhance your reputation, bring people in, is to network out on social media and things like that in communities of practice or something like that. So you're working with peers and so forth on that level. I think that will enhance. I think that's the other thing. It's like getting out there with peers, finding and connecting with peers. It sort of establishes your approach and establishes your reputation. So I just wanted to say that. Now, okay, in terms of the energy around your competitors, there is an element where you are similar in that they aren't really that hierarchical. The ones who are your true competitors here, whether it's in your organisation or as other sort of businesses or whatever, they're equally not hierarchical. Like, so there's something about all of you. There is a similarity. So whether this is people who are technically your competitor, within a team at the moment, or whether it's sort of like the bigger pool of competitors, there might be others who have a similar sort of view like that. They're very focused though. What is different is they're very focused on the how do you bring something back from the brink. And they're very focused on the how to do it, not the vision. So the thing that's different between you and that what appears to be with them a sense of difference, like a sense of, like creativity or whatever, or a sense of difference to the thing is kind of more that they are seeing what is wrong, not what could be right. So that gives you a bit of a competitive advantage. But in certain situations, they may pitch it in a way that's appealing, particularly if a place is feeling very vulnerable. It might also be why it was important for you to understand where there is sort of like anxiety around, understand how to deal with that so that you actually do get the best, rather than what could be different here is that these people just come in, tell people what to do and then walk away. They create a dependency, whereas what you're trying to create is a legacy, which is a stronger thing. But this is what they're doing. Like, they don't give up. They see it through. They'll bring something back from the brink, and they're not conventional in the way that they do it. So let's see what else we get to describe your competitors. Passion pioneer. Retirement roadmap. That's interesting. So I think what this does tell us is that they can appear to be all about the creation and everything as well. They're not as much. They see the retirement roadmap. I actually think it could be saying quite a few of the people that could be your competitors are kind of looking for how they build something that's going to make their life easy later on. And that might be part of what they show people too. What's the kind of easy way? That's what I get with retirement roadmap. They kind of, it could be sometimes too that they do actually not give up, because retirement isn't giving up completely, but is shifting and going through change. So some of them may be very much change agents in one form or another. But I think it's sort of the the light on the hill that they talk about is sustainability to get to that point. It's not all of the future. And that's going to be appealing to some people, but I don't think they're the right people for you to want to lead or want to work with or want to do work for. But they can appear to be passionate about what they do. And this is probably this emperor reversed. So, but it's like they have a very long-term approach. This might be why they kind of think that you're kind of like, if you feel you can make all these changes and do it quickly, they just might think, yeah, right, whatever. But the reality is you can because of what you have in your kit bag. But I think they're more kind of, they refocus the passion of a part of an organisation, I think, to work out, like what can go forward, but a lot also about what is time to let go of. So their focus is different. But it's similar skills, and they could be seen for similar roles, or they could be actually within your industry doing something. But if you're about the future, you're about creativity and bringing the right people together to make it happen and make it happen quickly. For them, it's like, let's have a long-term goal that allows for things to change and finish at the right time, and let's let passion come naturally out of that. But it is a turnaround. Let's bring the passion back, but let's also be able to kind of close out on what isn't necessary, and let's look long term about what makes life easier. That's the kind of energy. So, but that is going to be potentially, for some reason or other, this is why this has come up, that's going to be potentially attractive to others in certain circumstances. So it may be, sometimes it's best to just let them do it. Other times it may be that you work in communities practice, as I say, to talk about other ideas, and you find a different way to get your ideas in there and to raise your reputation. So I think that's what we're looking at. I think the people for here, it really is about change. It's about, in you is change and growth. For them, it's change and sustainability, and eventually letting things go when it's time to let it go. So there are some similar skills, but the focus is different. Okay, so given that, let's have a look at some personality aspects for you and energy aspects that are worth considering around your reputation and how to deal with all of this. So I'm going to use the Feel Your Chakra cards. I'm going to pull 4 cards from that first. And this may either be, if it's balanced, it may be things to really leverage and use. But if it's over or underactive, I think the question will be, what is it saying? Is it something you need to address? Is it something that you're experiencing? Is it something about what you're helping with? So it'll depend on what we get, I think, and what I feel about it. But it's just around some of the feelings that you're going to experience either directly yourself or you're going to come across in what you do. So firstly, we have sacral chakra. I feel bored, underactive. Okay, I think what is in common between you and your competitors is that you come in and you shake up stuff and you get people excited again. Like, you both do that. I think for you, as I say, you then do it in a very collaborative way that is future focused. I feel like your competitors are more within the normal roadmap. But nevertheless, it's sort of like, I think that's what you come across. It's also something that says this would be a big sign to you to shift what you're doing, shift who you're working with, shift where you're working. You are not someone who would deal well with being bored. You're too quick, you're too solutions focused. If you feel so many blocks, it's probably a thing to say, you know what, you're beyond this, beyond the role, beyond the organisation, whatever it might be. Secondly, we have root chakra, balanced. I am in tune with my nature. Yeah, you are, because your nature is very balanced. You know who you are. One of the reasons, actually, that you are so good at this is you're self-actualized. And that's why you can deal with other people and celebrate their successes. It's the real mark of when someone's self-actualized is when that's the case. When people are still on the pathway to self-actualization, they tend to get a little bit jealous of people and stuff. It's perfectly natural. I don't say that as a criticism. But once you're at that point and you really know who you are, you kind of enjoy the differences more than you worry about them. So that's a really strong thing for you. And with the root chakra, it's going to really sort of like give a really great basis for making money and having the life that you want and so forth. Then we have third eye chakra. I see and connect to the universe. Yeah, I felt with the moon card that you're very psychic. Third eye to me is also telepathic. You connect really well with people. You really understand people. But I feel like, as I say, you're kind of almost the spiritual architect and the spiritual engineer. You're an interesting balance. And lastly, another root chakra. Underactive, I am disconnected. Okay, I think either side of this is showing where some of your opportunities are. It's showing you what you can help other people with. But it also is a very good sign that if that energy starts to come up, you're not in the right place, because you really need to be excited and you need to be connected. So if you're experiencing that, it's a good sign that even if your reputation is fantastic, it'll be even better somewhere else, because you're no longer really, your heart's no longer in it. But I also think you're drawn to these sort of energies. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to do was look at kind of personality aspects that you have that will either work for you or that you need to balance out. And again, maybe very much the sort of specific to the situation. So I'm using the two penny oracle. So that has a personality energy. It's based on phrenology, that old sort of like form of personality reading by the bumps on your head. But it has some really interesting sort of like, personality aspects and how they work really well and when they're not working well. So this is really more about you in things that you might need to balance and think about during your career or your business or whatever to enhance your reputation. So we're just going to get 3 of those to see what we get. So calculation. Yeah, that makes sense. You're very good at understanding things. So when it's working at the best, you assess things very well. Manipulation or negligence are the 2 things to be careful of. I don't think negligence would happen with you. You're very much about see the whole thing through and the Knight of Pentacles. But manipulation, you may sometimes have to be aware that if other people aren't as quick as you and don't see it, you're trying to go for a very collaborative energy, which is really respecting everybody. But it could be that sometimes it seems like you're kind of manipulating people. So it's just something to be aware of. This is something that any visionary leader kind of has to deal with if they're also involved in the doing. The other thing too is that don't let it become like you're micromanaging, because I don't think that's what you mean, but I think there's just that kind of thing. It's sort of like you have to kind of get to the point of saying this is what we want to do and understand everybody's role in it and so forth, but then you kind of have to let them do it. Okay, and not overly assessing them, like always kind of calculating what they're doing and so forth. Then we get eventuality. Okay, curiosity. Yeah, your curiosity is a really strong thing. Disinterest and intrusiveness. Okay, so there's 2 other things to think about. That your natural curiosity and your natural creativity is part of this. But if you get to that point, as I say, disconnected, bored, this is no longer really going to work for you. You might want to see something through, but there it's very important to know who would you almost hand over to, because it's no longer something that's got your heart. Now, in terms of intrusiveness, again, this is the same thing. It's like you really know how to do things, so make sure that you don't try and tell everybody right down to the last bit. You've got to kind of let them do it. And combativeness. Okay, this may be with some of your competitors, or it could be because you're a visionary. Sometimes, like it is a bit of a battle to get a new idea to come in, particularly if there's a lot of naysayers who are going, oh yeah, that sounds great, but in practice it won't work. So this is how you arm yourself, and I think your knowledge of the business and what you're doing is a big part of that. Submission, don't just give in. If you find yourself in a situation where there's just nothing you can do, you're probably going to get to this energy, so it's time to move on. Pugnacity, however, is not good. It's like meeting this sort of like cynical energy with a kind of a equally aggressive sort of thing is not going to help. It's more about how do you arm yourself in terms of your arguments. And I think over time your reputation is going to speak for itself anyway. But you do have a passion for what you're doing, and you are very clever and quick, and you could probably win practically any debate, but it's sort of always making a bit of a assessment and calculation in a positive way about what battles are worth doing it. Where could you win a battle and lose the war, and that kind of thing. Okay, so let's just slip to the spiritual a bit and get you a couple of spirit guides to be helping you with your career. Archangel Metatron, there you go. The sort of the scribe, the architect, the visionary, spiritual power, esoteric wisdom, sacred geometry. Yeah, it's a sacred geometry as well. Yeah, it's kind of like it's how things work. That makes sense. And Archangel Christiel, higher consciousness, light, Christ-like. Yeah, you come with a lot of light. Your vision is actually very people-centric. It's very, very collaboration-centric. You're trying to do something for the light, definitely. And as I say, you know what you're doing. So I think you've got sort of guides just to sort of make sure that you can always sort of stay true to that vision, particularly if you are sometimes in combative sort of environments. So also let the stars guide you a little bit, pile 1. 6th house, in service to others. This is definitely energy that, in your day-to-day work and everything, like it's like this is how you're in service to others. You're a servant leader if you're a leader in terms of a position. Cancer, very protective, emotional, connected to the moon we saw, connected to the kind of spiritual as well, very important energy. And the tarot card is a chariot, so moving things forward is a big part of what you do. And the 5th house, so creative, the creativity, relationship connections. This may also indicate that some of you will meet the love of your life through your work. That's sort of a sort of side thing, but that could very well happen. But certainly there's a passion, a creative passion to what you do. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to go back to the deck with what's left in the deck, because I've got the various things set up for each of the others as well, but it's a big deck, so there's lots of things. I'm now going to just ask for 2 last career oracle cards about as yet undiscovered abilities, skills, or parts of you that could really turbocharge this reputation and what you could achieve. So we get, firstly, the side hustle sage. Oh, that's interesting. And the mentor's apprentice. All right, so wherever you are at the moment, you either could be doing a side hustle, which keeps you excited if you're starting to get stuck sometimes, or if you're at the point where you've done the vision, you've kind of worked out everything, you're letting people go, you might actually have time. Because you're probably a bit indefatigable actually with your energy, so that's certainly there. Or you may be able to mentor others on that. Like I get this sort of sense here, the mentor's apprentice, you are likely, to be also the mentor and to have apprentices. But there could be something here that's saying, you know what, you're doing this naturally. You could also go and learn how to be a mentor, all those things. You've got a lot of natural skills here, and you could actually do that either as a side hustle, or you may use that as how you create the legacy. It's like you mentor more than manage and that kind of thing. So there's definitely something here about how things can be made more, and how the multitasking and the polymath energy. So you're very interesting people. You're the sort of people I would have liked to work with, back in the day when I was in organisations. Very, very important sort of energy here. Lovely energy too, really, really positive. I hope that you've enjoyed the reading. I hope that it resonates for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you've come to the reading with the go-getter, so you're drawn to energy of sort of getting on with things, getting things done. And it kind of makes sense when I'm looking at this, because you've got a particular way of doing it, and your reputation shows this. And you're formidable, I have to say. Like one of the people, I don't think people take you on easily. And whether you lead people, or whether you're very much a kind of innovator within an organisation, or whether you're a change agent, or whether you're involved in things that are around negotiation, conflict, high stakes stuff, you are really seen as a force to be reckoned with. But also one, because you're fair. Like the interesting thing is that people see you as you're ambitious, you want to get on, you want to achieve things, you want outcomes. You're not interested in, I don't think by and large you're interested in sort of fluffy stuff around work. I mean, you would want a good work culture, you would want, a happy team, all that kind of thing. But it's like, let's get on with it. It's kind of your energy. But you are an incredible negotiator, the negotiator's rival. So this is showing like you're someone who can really bring about great outcomes, whether you're negotiating for your business, whether you're in a negotiating role, whether you could be anything from a sort of employee relations or a monetary sort of negotiator for your organisation, through to being, say, a union delegate or something like that. But it could be anything, but you are really good at it. And one of the reasons is you know how to bring balance. So like the thing about it, and like I used to do negotiation work, so I know what this energy is. It's like that there is a time in a room, in a negotiation room, where the tells are there, and where with the energy of the room, that this is time where you can bring people together. And most really successful negotiators leave a room with exactly what they wanted, but everybody feeling like they got what they wanted. So this is you. And like, as I say, people find you, they might find you a little bit scary sometimes, but on the other hand, you're the one they want in their corner. And whether you do it, as I say, as a job, or whether it's just you're so good at getting the balance in, getting people to sort of understand each other's sides and getting a good outcome, but you will get the outcome you want. You will get the outcome you want, and anybody that you are working for will get the outcome they want. So really interesting energy, because I thought this could just be sort of like really ambitious but this is a particular way this is channeled. You know how to negotiate with others to bring the balance, to bring the agreement, to make things occur. That's a big part of how you're seen, regardless of whatever role you do. So we're going to look 2 cards for what managers or clients, if you're running a business, see in you, 2 cards for your peers, colleagues, or, contractors or consultants or collaborators if you're running a business, and 2 cards for your competitors, either internal or external, depending on whether you are in an organisation or you're running your own business. So that's part of these cards here. A little bit later, there's 2 other cards for what your competitors bring to the table. But let's firstly see how either managers or clients see you. Integrity inspector, the mentor. Okay, all right. So this makes a lot of sense. In fact, it makes a huge amount of sense. Again, the people have this completely wrong idea, I think, about negotiation and so forth in organisations and more generally, thinking that it's like being Machiavelli and having one over others. It's certainly true that the best outcomes you want, you know what your outcome is, you know what your non-negotiables are. But if you don't, as I say, have everybody feeling they've got something coming out of it, and if you're not trusted, you might win once, you'll never win again. But your managers, your clients, your people, they see that you have this really deep integrity. This is the balance. So they're not going to try and send you into something to manipulate people unfairly at all. They're going to see you as someone who your reputation, your word is your honour. People will trust you. People will listen to you. You have a huge amount of gravitas. And they see that as something where you could teach others. So, and again, it's not necessarily that you're being sent in to negotiate unless that's the role you do, but they see you as someone who gets good outcomes because you're just a really decent person and you stick by your word. And your managers, if it's managers, want you to get other people to be like that because they see that this actually works. And if this is a business that you're running, then people that work with you then actually want you to mentor them or show them how to do it. Like you could even do a side business around mentoring in this if you're not already doing it. Like you are very much seen as the gold standard for achieving things in maybe contested or kind of complex environments where there's lots of stakeholders or lots of people who have an interest in it. So that's fantastic. In fact, I think you would be someone who, if you ever did a business, you'd probably have like executives wanting you to mentor them around this stuff because you really know how to do it. Okay, so then let's have a look at what your peers, colleagues, or, as I say, kind of collaborators, if it's a business, see you as. The team player, yeah, that makes sense. The remote work oracle. Okay, all right, so couple of things around this. I think that again, one of the reasons you have this integrity is people don't think your ego's in play here. You aren't wanting to win just to win or to wander around and say winning. Like it's not like that. You actually are around the team and around an outcome that works for everybody. And they don't see you as being, they see you as ambitious, but they don't see you as being Machiavellian and ambitious in it. You're not. You don't need to be. Some of you may actually work quite separately. Like you might literally do a lot from working from home, or you might travel a lot with what you do. Or it might be that right now, because this is quite a big issue around work at the moment, people around you might be looking to how you can get the balance and negotiate something around that. So that might be a very specific thing. But otherwise, I think it could be that maybe you're a bit remote from a team, or maybe you come in and out from a team in some way. Or it might just be that your team really like you, your peers really like you, and they want to get closer to you. They see you as a little bit, as I say, a little bit scary. Like, do you approach this person and so forth? So that energy is there. Then let's have a look at how your competitors view you. The listener, the connector. Okay, your competitors rate you as well, which is a good thing and a challenge. It'll be very interesting to see what we get around them, because what you almost want here, to be honest, is that your competitors underestimate you, but they don't. And the reason I say it's good for your competitors to underestimate you is it kind of gives you an edge. But having said that, you've already got such an edge, it probably doesn't matter. I think your competitors are watching you very closely at the moment. They see you as someone who knows how to listen in a room. Like, I feel like some of your competitors are probably other people who want to be a great negotiator. They're watching you. They're seeing how you work. They're seeing that you say less and listen more, all those kind of things. They see you as someone who really takes in stuff and connects. So I think your competitors want to learn from you. It's interesting, this mentor thing here. But of course, they're competitors. So they want to get good at it and bring their own special thing to it. So be aware that you're being watched. You're being studied by people who are your potential competitors. They're trying to work out how you do it. And some of them may, if they're smart enough to do that, some of them may actually be real competitors. It'll be interesting to see what we get around that. Okay, so let's get tarot. And let's have a look firstly at what's working really well for you at the moment. They're then going to look at what could you change, nuance, enhance, whatever it is that could make it work even better. Then we're going to have a look at some energy around your competitors with both tarot, and then also see the last two cards there from the career oracle deck. So firstly, what's working really well for you at the moment? Nine of Pentacles. I think you do a lot on your own. You may be in a team, but you're very independent. Ace of Pentacles. If you've started a business, it's going to do really well. But if not, then there's maybe some new project that you're on that's good. King of Swords. Yeah, that's your balance. The Hermit. Yeah, there you are kind of remote in some way for some reason. Eight of Swords reversed. Two of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so what's working really well for you? For some reason, there's a real high degree of independence. It may be just that even though you might be going in, because normally if you're doing a negotiation of some sort, whether it's a formal negotiation or whether it's just sort of trying to get an outcome on one level or another with a number of parties that have different interests, you are seen to have a viewpoint, you will have a outcome, but you are able to seem to be independent of that when it comes to, with the Hermit and the Nine of Pentacles, when it comes to a matter of fairness with King of Swords. So this is part of the thing. You seem to be very balanced and to be on the side of the angels. And that is incredibly powerful. If you can get to that point, that's incredibly powerful. And I think you're the type of person who would maintain it. You wouldn't kind of use it in a negative way. Though, I mean, it'll be interesting to sort of see if there's sort of anything around personality traits, because it's also how you could be perceived. But at the moment, you're perceived as someone who is independent enough to go for the right thing rather than just the thing that's going to be expedient for you. You're also seen as someone who can really let things build and grow, that can take the potential of something and really let it grow. And if you're in some sort of like a negotiation or battle or something like that with potentially competitors or other parts or other, whatever it might be, you are seen as someone who's not going to sacrifice good ideas just to win. So this is you have a really strong sort of sense of just fairness. People just see you as really, really fair. They also think that you can liberate, with Eight of Swords reversed, energy where it's difficult to make a decision. Two of Pentacles reversed. It's like, how do you make this decision? There's a thing that I used to sort of hear about, both, when I sort of studied stuff at uni, but also at work, which is called a wicked problem. And it's a problem where in one way there's no actual solution because there's always costs that are an issue. So I feel like you're very good at finding the best outcome in wicked problem situations, if that came up, where in a sense everybody's got to leave the room losing a bit rather than everybody leaving the room winning. So this is this balance, because that sometimes is the case. It's sometimes the only way that in a way that you can resolve something is realizing that you can't resolve everything in this anyway. The best you can do is try and find a fair balance of what you can do. So I think that's working very well for you too. And it doesn't have to be that you're a negotiator. I wouldn't be surprised if really people who are do negotiation for a career are drawn to this reading, but it doesn't have to be. It's in anything. You understand how to balance that off. You understand how to break through what seems to be unresolvable situations. So then what could you change, nuance, do less of, do more of to be even more successful? Page of Pentacles, Seven of Wands reversed, Knight of Pentacles, the moon. So, well, that's Queen of Wands, so it's not 7. I don't know why I thought that was 7. It looked like 7 when it's laying it out. So one of the reasons that you do really, really well, so this is really getting to a nuance, and it's happened with pile 1 too. It wasn't really sort of that there was a major problem. It was just a very subtle nuance here. Is that one of the things that you're really good at is the kind of the almost the monetary or material issues and being dedicated to that. This is a sense of the gravitas, like, you know, you're here to, in whatever the situation is, you're here to kind of come to an outcome that is sustainable, that's balanced, and that, you know, has some force to it. You're very well prepared. And the more that you do that, the more you plan for that, the better. That's a really good thing. Because in the room or in the discussion or whatever it is, you're almost freed from that so that you can kind of psychically connect in. And I do think good negotiators are psychic because they read a room. So really, the more that you can prepare, the more you free up your intuition. But there's an interesting thing here. It's like it's about dealing with ego. And I think it's going to be... you're always going to have to consider this, and this is why it's important to be able to really focus on the mood in the room, because I think sometimes you might suppress your ego a bit too much, and there's something about you, because you're so well thought of, that if you actually kind of showed the ambition a bit more, it's going to work for you. In other situations, it may be if you're going in and people are already thinking, they're already thinking you're really ambitious, you have to subdue it. So it's like reading the room to know that. What are you dealing with the people that you're dealing with? Are they thinking they're dealing with the go-getter, in which case it's probably good to just go with the facts, you know, listen and all that kind of thing, and not seem to have a particular egoic thing. But for others, if they're thinking that they're dealing with this person, then you want to actually raise that a bit, because it's part of the power to get the outcome. So it really is, and this is why it's important to be able to really tune in to what's going on, to know, you know, how much you show yourself and how much you don't in any given situation. Okay, so then let's also get cards for what your competitor's reputation is, or what they're bringing to the table. 6 of Cups. Just going to move these up a bit so that you can see them better. 6 of Cups. The Tower reversed. The Knight of Cups reversed. Okay, these ones work very much to the emotion. I think that you have that, but I think you are very much about practical outcomes. You're very much about like balancing it all and being prepared. This is why it's saying that like, there's a subtle thing about understanding the emotion. Your competitors are not to be dismissed. You know, they are smart, but they have a sense, they do an appeal to nostalgia. They do an appeal to anything emotionally that hasn't worked out. And they also suggest very incremental change. So they don't scare the horses, basically. You may have bigger, because you've got this go-getter thing, you may have bigger visions. So what could derail you in a negotiation or with a competitor is if they can appeal to emotion and to the as I said, it didn't look to me like you necessarily were about, you know, the sort of the feelings energy so much. It's more about the outcome energy. And that can sometimes be misunderstood. I think that your competitors appeal more to emotion, to nostalgia, to where people have felt that what they're feeling is not being heard, and to the fear of change. So it's just worth being aware of that, because that could potentially in certain circumstances become an issue. And it may be partly why it's saying here, like, I think if you're dealing with it, if this was literally in a negotiation, your competitors were in the negotiation, if they were seeming to win the room on emotion and like on fear, then it's important not to be all about let's get on with it. It's much more important to be like listening and connecting in and making people feel that there's a solid foundation, because the Tower reversed here is suggesting there could be fear about change. So it just depends on the situation. Let's see what we get from the Divination Hub about, you know, their reputation. The Philanthropist and the Prostitute. Okay, you see, yeah, you do have, in one way or another, you do have significantly important competitors. Like you really do need to take this seriously. I think you either will or you are working at quite high stakes stuff. They do come across as very much being about the heart. They're really about the heart. And they have somehow, they are able to somehow get a really strong connection in people's minds, between caring and the heart and prosperity. So, but they're seeing in you that there's sort of some other secret source. They're trying to work out what it is, because I think they're pretty good at what they do. They're pretty good at getting people to connect, what you do and help you out, help others, and the heart of it all with prosperity. They're not Machiavellian. This is the interesting thing. Like you could have had with your energy very Machiavellian rivals, but you don't. These are people who have a similar sort of approach to it. It's just what is different about you is that you are the person who really understands the tipping points within discussions and the practical outcomes of things. And that's a very solid thing to make people feel very secure, make people feel and you are seen as very, very fair, very, very fair. They're not necessarily as practical, but they're seen as all heart. So that's a really interesting challenge. So let's have a look at how to deal with that kind of almost on a kind of feelings and psychological level. So I want to pull 4 chakra cards for you that'll show either the energy that you need to think about within yourself, or maybe the energy that you're encountering. So the first card is a sacral chakra. Balanced, I feel creative. So that's good. When you are creating an outcome, that's a good energy for you. And as I say, with the Ace of Pentacles, you have a very good way of being able to get people to feel that you could nurture and protect the growth of new enterprises. Then we have another sacral chakra one. Overactive, I feel emotionally overreactive. Okay, their trigger point for you is when it gets emotional. This is why it's saying that, like, being able to kind of connect into your higher sense and read the room and understand that. They could, because you want to do the right thing. I think that they may too. I'm not saying they're bad actually, but they go to the heart. I don't think they're as practical, but it could make you react, or the people around you could react with that sort of energy. Then what do we get? We get the root chakra. I am present, balanced. Yeah, you are. You're very present in the moment. You do understand what is going on. And that's what they're watching, but they're present as well. It's a very interesting dynamic with your competitors, I have to say. And sacral chakra again, I feel aggressive, overact. Okay, I think if they trigger, if you're in a room with them on something, it doesn't have to be a formal negotiation, as I say, because you don't have to be a formal negotiator. You could really have that natural skill in any situation. But if you're in a room with somebody and you you're doing the right thing, it's bringing balance and all of that, and then people start to come up with the feels, and it's not practical or it's manipulative, then that's likely to be when you might overreact. And that's when this side could come out. So it's like understanding that and knowing when to use it and when not to use it. So we're also going to use the 2-penny oracle to see some psychological attributes that you have that can either work really well or that you need to balance. So we'll have a look at both options for you. So firstly, we have touch, sensitivity. Yeah, like you are actually really good at psychic. You connect psychically. Actually, this is the difference. Psychically and of the mind and kind of the practical outcome. These people connect with the heart, but as I say, they're not always that grounded. But like really, the more you use your sensitivity and how to read a room, the better. It's not numbness. Don't sort of like feel you have to shut that off, particularly if you're in a situation where it's like you're going to have to get aggressive because of some sort of debate, and it's kind of like being too empathic actually makes you feel overwhelmed. And it also has tenseness. So it's sort of like it's using the sensitivity to keep you in the space of the balance. And then we have order, conformity, rigidity or disparity. Okay, so I think this is a lot of your balance, and you have a really strong sense of ethics. And I think while you conform to that sense of order and ethics, that's one of your major strengths. You don't want it to appear rigid though, and you don't want to ever appear like you you say one thing and do another. I don't think that's ever going to be an issue, but I think the challenge for you will be keeping to the ethics, particularly if it gets very emotional, without just appearing that it's just form for form's sake. And eventuality, okay, curiosity, like your curiosity, your curiosity to understand the room, to understand what's going on. And I keep saying the room because I'm thinking of negotiations, but it doesn't have to be that. As I say, it's getting anything. You negotiate when you go to the hairdressers and you're sort of negotiating what kind of colour you want. Like we negotiate all the time, but like your curiosity, is a good, if there's an outcome that you want, being curious and staying curious is good. Not being intrusive, not trying to find out too much, but he's equally not appearing disinterested, like you already know what you want and you're not interested. Like, so again, the really good negotiators appear to be exploring an issue in a room, not coming in with a foregone conclusion. And you're very, very good at that. Okay, let's get you some spiritual support. Let's get you a couple of spiritual guides around your career reputation or your business reputation. Goddess Isis, resurrection, magic, fertility. You definitely can bring things back from the brink, definitely. And I think like there's a kind of a repair energy to this. So I think one of the ways that really could operate for you is how to repair situations, and to dissolve conflict. So I think, and to re-empower people, because if you think about it, Isis had to go and look for Osiris and kind of bring him back together to re-empower him. So I think that you actually, one of the reasons you're good at this and one of the reasons people trust you is that you re-empower people. And we have Archangel Raguel, which is about relationship healing and calm harmony. Yeah, you're really good at that. Like, don't let your rivals who are kind of appear to be more of the heart get you too worried, because at the end of the day, you have such a good reputation and you've got the sensitivity and the nuance to do with it. You just need to understand that they're much more likely to tug the heartstrings, but not necessarily have the follow through. And if you understand that you can prepare for that in any kind of situation. Let's get you some stars to guide you as well. Aquarius, yeah, a little bit transpersonal, a little bit step back, bigger picture ideas. That's who you are, very future focused. Venus, you do have heart and there is beauty to what you do, but it's a little bit detached. I think your biggest, challenge or competitor are the ones who pull the heartstrings. And the 6th house, it's interesting, that came up for one of the others. It's how you serve others. And this is something that's very good for your work. So it is saying it's very good for your day-to-day work. This ability really helps you in that situation. Okay, so we're just going to go back to the Divination Oracle, the Career Oracle. Got lots of cards still there because it's a big deck. And I'm going to just shuffle and ask for 2 last bits of the puzzle for you that you maybe don't even fully realise yet that you could leverage and so forth. So sort of undiscovered parts of you that maybe even aren't part of your reputation yet, or are but in a more subtle way, but that you could potentially enhance. So we get the mindful manager. Yes, you definitely would be very good at managing people and being mindful of the outcomes of things and mindful of the dynamics. So certainly if you haven't yet become a manager or a business leader or a business creator, that you definitely can do that. And if you have, it's like that the mindfulness that you bring to things, I think you can mentor others with that, which is why the sort of leaders and so forth saw you like that. And the ethical enforcer, it's so strong with you. It's so strong with you. You are so ethical. You are so balanced on that kind of level. You would be a fantastic manager. But also, if you had to work in regulation, if you had to kind of make sure the rules were followed in some way, you're so good at it. You may not have, because this is the kind of undiscovered, this might be a whole other level of something you could do with your career that you haven't really thought about yet, or a business that you haven't thought about yet. But yeah, your nature and how people already see you, you're perfect for those sort of things. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you come to the reading with the collaboration conductor. which, to me is sort of like it is obviously about collaboration, connecting with people, knowing different skills, all that kind of thing, and being able to work really, really well with others. I also feel because of conductor, I feel like music, like some of you may have a connection to music, or you may find music very inspirational for what you do, and how you sort of build your reputation, or you may be seen to have a kind of almost a melody and a kind of a sense of being able to make everything move together with a melodic structure, like with a flow. So I think that's sort of like a core part of you. What's interesting, there's a lot about getting on with people. People see you as being very social. They probably see you as an extrovert. The interesting thing is you may not actually be an extrovert with the specialist here. You see how the specialist is pictured as sort of like they're very much on their own with their particular thing. But they're sort of almost like kind of like almost, it's not diametrically opposed because you can be a specialist and be really extroverted, but the images feel very different. And then we have collaboration. So part of it might be that people sort of see one or other side of you when in actual fact you're actually kind of a symphony within yourself. You're both a very specialist, you know your stuff really, really well, and you kind of work very, very well on your own. But on the other hand, you can network the hell out of it and you can really connect with other people and find the people and draw them in as a kind of infectious sort of thing around you, around enthusiasm, not infectious in another way. But I think that it's possible that you're one of those people who appears to be very social when you are in the flow of what you're doing for your career or your job, but you're actually quite shy the rest of the time. And if people sort of saw you behind the scenes, as I say, you may work a lot alone. And people may know that. They may know that you can go out and talk the talk when it's necessary, connect with people when necessary. You just have that harmony with people, but really you're kind of like so good at what you do. You're kind of a specialist as well. It's like, it's interesting with the music. It's sort of like, I feel like people who come to this reading, you could be sort of really kind of geniuses within what you do. And the name that came to me, interestingly enough, is Stephen Sondheim. And this might just be because, I have a friend who's a musician. We talk about doing musicals and Stephen Sondheim is his idol. But I sort of feel like the way that he writes and the depth of psychological understanding in his lyrics sort of, and the way he could bring all that together, he's amazing at bringing all that together. It's just as an example of your energy and how you're seen. Kind of connected so much with people, had a really strong social energy. I have no idea whether he was extroverted or introverted. I don't really know a lot about him. I just think he's brilliant. But I just think that there's something in that energy that is like you. People see you as being really good at something. Like there's something that's really very much you. And within you hear the conductor. I mean, the conductor is a very specific specialist skill to bring everybody together. So for a lot of you, it could be something like that. Even you may have a genius for bringing people together on social media, social networking, social situations, event management, any of those things. And that could be your specialty. Or it's like being in the orchestra and being the lead violinist or something like that. So I think that you have a very strong reputation because of a very specific skill that you have, but your capacity to do it around others and to bring others in is also part of what you're seen as being able to do. So it's interesting. Let's have a look. Here we have a number of other cards, and we're going to start with 2 cards for how either your managers or your clients see you, because these are the people who, if you're in an organisation, are going to determine your career path in a way and what doors will be open to you. And or if you're running a business, your clients, how they respond to you, has a big impact on success and so forth. So your managers or clients see you, Renaissance Soul. Wow. The Resilience Rescuer. Okay, that's an interesting combination. And it's a bit like this sort of energy. There's definitely something here around diverse interests, like collaboration. I think they see you as someone who actually has a lot of skills, but there's one that you've really looked at, and the resilience, it's like it's the thing that sees you through. It's the ride or die thing that you really love to do, even though you could do other things. It's like, I don't know whether this ever happens with music. People could tell me if they understand with orchestras, but it's almost like you could play a number of instruments and then you decided to become the conductor. It's like, because it's like, how do you bring it all together and make it all go through? So it could be, as I say, that you have a number of things, but there's a specialty. It's how you've brought that together. And Renaissance Soul, no wonder I was thinking about musicals. Like there's art, there's something very artistic about you. But it's interesting because when I was looking at that, I almost sort of saw this person transmuted into this environment and they're a DJ. Like I just have this sense of as I say, music, and it doesn't have to be literally music, but it's like that as a metaphor, and your understanding and connection with others and what brings the joy into it, what brings the art into it, that somehow your managers or your clients see you as someone who can really, if something is difficult, can hold it all together, can bring it through, uses your speciality, but also uses the connections to others. And that, yeah, they see you as a bit of a, I don't know, as I say, Leonardo da Vinci, that kind of thing. Very interesting. And I might have said polymath when I was talking about this one, when I was talking about in the introduction. I can't remember. But there is a kind of a polymath sense of that. But then there's also, it's being used to get a particular outcome. And you can get everybody else back in tune and in harmony and moving forward and happy to do it. So that's kind of like your special sauce for those right now who are looking at what could build your business or build your career path. What do your peers, colleagues, or potentially collaborators, if you're in a business, see with you? The family planner, the realist, okay. So if you're in an organisation, this social sort of energy, I think that the people that you work with, your peers, see you as someone who can make an environment feel like a family, feel like that everybody's in a common place. Some may also, it depends on where you're at in your life at the moment, some might also know that you're going to balance some of this, and maybe you're going to go from doing a lot of things to doing a speciality because you're wanting to get a work-life balance. That's a possibility. They think you're very realistic. They think that you really know who you are and you know what you need to do. So again, so like this feels like almost like nightlife. So if this is kind of this energy, it might be that you're thinking about like, what do you do now so that you can do that around your family. So if that fits, that's fine and it's literal. Otherwise, I think it's like you have this realist. They think you're very realistic, and you can make a kind of a work situation or a business feel like it's family, like everybody's in it together and wanting to work together and harmonise together. Then your competitors. What do your competitors think when they look at you? The efficiency engineer, the digital native. No wonder it's felt like DJ. Wow, okay. So your competitors know that you really can make things work. And in fact, that might be your genius. This might be your specialty, as I say, knowing a number of things, but it's like how to conduct it all, how to like make it all work together as a whole, how to be efficient. They think you're very efficient. If they're competing with you, they're thinking about how to be just as efficient or more. So they see you as knowing that, knowing how to make things work. And also extremely good with digital stuff, with anything kind of AI, like any of those sort of things that you kind of fit in. You know what to do in that environment. You know how to like take things, from what we're looking at in all the technology at the moment and make it work. For some of you, it might be that you very much here kind of looks a bit alone. You might be working very much from home or over sort of technical devices or whatever, but you're very, very efficient. So they're looking at you and they're looking to you for what are you understanding about, in this case, particularly if you are around something that's sort of technological or future focused, what are you understanding about that in terms of efficiency and how it connects with others? That's what they're watching you for. So because they see you as excelling in those areas, and that's something they need to compete with. So that's interesting. So let's use tarot. We'll later on see a little bit more about your competitors, but now we're firstly going to look at what's working really well for you. Then we're going to look at what you could change or nuance a bit. Then we'll get to your competitors in a little bit more detail. So firstly, what's working really well for you at the moment with your business or career reputation? Four of Cups, Two of Pentacles reversed, the Moon, Three of Pentacles, Three of Cups. No wonder you have collaboration. Ace of Pentacles reversed. Okay, I'm just going to move these along a bit. So I think the reason that I'm seeing social butterfly here and I'm feeling music always makes me think of cups, and there's quite a lot of cups here. I think one of the reasons that is the case is that what's working well for you is you can pick up when there's a block. So a conductor, for instance, could pick up in a whole orchestra if one sort of like musician was a little out of time or was less energetic or something like that. So I think you're good at picking that up and understanding with the Two of Pentacles reversed what are the kind of mechanical efficiency issues that are blocking it? What's going on? And it's partly a kind of specialist technical skill that you have in some way. It's also partly a psychic energy. The psychic energies kind of come up with all the readings, which doesn't surprise me with the collective that I read for. But there is a kind of a psychic understanding as well as a kind of a technical understanding, highly empathic. And you know how, with Three of Pentacles and Three of Cups, to make people celebrate in the concept and enjoy the concept of working together rather than working separately. Even though, as I say, some of you may a lot of the time be quite separate away, but like even with that, you know how to bring everybody together. And you know how to discover through that what something really could be. So it's like, I think that you're sort of someone who probably works best in environments which are looking for some future breakthrough. Something, like you're working for an Apple or something like that, and particularly with the digital native. And it's like you can sort of see where there's a block in the creativity and so forth. Connect into that and get people working together again to start realising what the new thing is. I do think there's something very much about bringing in new energy. So the Renaissance, like that's very much who you are. And that's also something that your competitors see. And it's working well for you. You've got a technique. You've got a technique that's working well in one form or another in the way that you do this. So let's see what you could nuance a bit. Or you could just change a little bit to even maximise this more, or something that you need to be aware of that could trip you up, as well. So let's see what Spirit wants to say. Four of Pentacles, Six of Wands reversed, Two of Swords, Seven of Pentacles. Okay. Now, I think for many of you, the interesting thing is I think you're very creative, you're very musical, you're very in flow, you're great with people. But I have a feeling that the specialty that you do, sometimes you feel a little bit behind the scenes. Like one could argue that the conductor's right up there in the scene, but in a way people are listening to the music. And here it looks a bit alone. I think that what can sometimes be an issue to think about is how do you get recognition? I think you are getting recognition, but like how would you get more? It sort of looks like with the Four of Pentacles here that you're often in environments where the sort of hierarchy is already set. So it's kind of like you come in with this Renaissance thing, you're like an iconoclast, but it's like, how do you get the recognition? And this is a kind of, what will help you is using your specialty, whatever it is, to make some decisions about what does growth look like. Because it's almost as though many of you have these great specialties, you have all these great skills, and people can sort of see it. So the resilience rescuers, how do you make things grow? If you really want to do well, then that sort of sense that you can take something new and make it occur and make people work together will work. But I think it's interesting because I feel like many of you're in environments where it's hard to be seen for what you can do. And for some of you, it might be because you're sort of off on your own a lot of the time. So I think this is saying it's just a decision about how you present it. Because I think many of you might be in environments that are more about how do we keep everything safe and secure, not how do we have growth. But your genius is showing people you can have both and how working together can make that happen. But there is some sort of a block, I think, operating. So it's worth being aware that this is just a decision about how you present it. There's not anything else. It's just a subtle difference in the way you present what you're putting on the table. So what energy are your competitors bringing to it and how are they seen? Three of Swords reversed, the Sun reversed, the Nine of Pentacles reversed. Okay. So what differentiates you, and we're going to look at this as well too, but what differentiates you from your competitors? And in a way, this works well for you, I think. They're looking at you, their focus is very mechanical. That's why they're sort of saying like what your efficiency energy, what you understand about the new world and what we can do with technology or whatever it might be. However that sort of like resonates for you. But they're more about how to use this to like have an environment which isn't painful, rather than an environment that is alive and happy. So they do all this to avoid pain and to keep security. So what's sort of going on is that your competitors in this thing are more, I think at the moment, they may be more suited to whatever organisation you're in or whatever industry you're in. But that's because what you can bring has to yet be born. This is what I'm saying. There's something where what you have hasn't been fully recognised yet enough to really have the traction you want, or within the industry. You're bringing something to an industry that doesn't, like this is the Renaissance thing again too. There are important people who see what you can do. So that's good. It's not like you don't have backers, but like to get everybody on board, it's like coming into something and saying this is a new way of doing it. And there's a thing that they talk about where you get early adopters. And what is good for you is it looks like kind of managers, people who have a bit of vision are early adopters, which are great. And your peers sort of, even if they don't fully understand the thing, they think that this will still work well. So you're quite persuasive and all that kind of thing. So you've got some early adopters, but then you'll have some people who take a little bit longer and they've got to see the proof is in the pudding. And then there'll always be some resistors. Your competitors are more around appealing to those that are worried about change and just want stability. So I think you're a bit of a change agent, you're of the new, and you're in environments where there are people who can do some of what you can do, but they're more about sustaining. And it would be better that they weren't competitors, that you came in with and you brought it in and then they took it forward as sustaining. But at the moment, there's a competitive aspect. Let's see what their reputation is like. The career chameleon, the team dynamics. Okay. So these people, your competitors, are able to switch. They are actually able to change. And if it got to the point where you were starting to get traction, they try and kind of be like you. But at the moment, they're kind of fitting. They fit in. And there's a lot of power to that, so be aware of it. They fit in. And they can change and go with what's going on. They're looking always at the team dynamics. That's what they're looking at. You've actually got a brilliant way of dealing with it. And they think this is just kind of efficiency and understanding the industry, where in fact you do actually have that as well too. But they're focusing on how do they fit in with the team, whereas you're looking at how to progress it in one form or another. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the sort of psychological and emotional elements. So first we're going to look at some chakra energy, and this could pick up what you're experiencing, what's working for you, what you need to adjust, or it could also be what you're coming across as well. So we'll just see what we get. So firstly we have a sacral chakra, overactive, I feel aggressive. Okay, so this could be, if you feel blocked, you could find that. It's something to think about, because that's not what's going to help you. What's going to help you is presenting the vision of growth over time. So if these people are trying to kind of like make out that you know, you might have these nice ideas, but that this is what the team wants to do, don't get into a full-on fight with them. It's more like you show it by connecting well with people. But it may also be that there's aggression around the environment that you're in as well too. It might be something that you have to be aware of and manage. Get the throat chakra balanced. I talk and express myself freely. Yeah, I think you are very good at expressing what you're doing, very good at that. Even I feel like you're probably an introvert in as much as you probably need time out to get more energy, but you probably come across like an extrovert in what you're doing, and it's because you can really express yourself well. Another throat chakra. Oh, here we go. I talk, but I'm shy. Exactly what I was just thinking. That's okay. You know what that means and how to use it. You may also bring people out, actually. This may also be kind of what you come across. You might come across people that you think are very skilled and you bring them out a bit, and that might be one of the ways that you bring them on board. But I do think that it's because you kind of understand what it is to be shy under this more sort of overtly extroverted exterior. And balance crown chakra, I sense my higher self. Yeah, you're a Renaissance person. So yes, you do. Okay, and if you feel aggressive, go back to that energy. And remember that you are more than capable of dealing with anything verbally. Okay, let's look at some personality aspects. So this particular deck has personality aspects, both when they're working well and also what you have to balance and not do within that thing. So let's see 3 personality aspects that also work for you, pile 3. Causality, reason. Yeah, you can see, you're specialist. You can see the reasons for things. You can also do a very compelling argument for why something can grow. But this is like balancing of illogic and irrationality. I think that when people go into the, oh, it can't change, it's all about the team, that kind of thing, and you're feeling frustrated, don't really push past that. Don't get aggressive. Go back to your higher self. That'll get back to where you can reason. It's like you might have a bit of a trigger where it's kind of like, well, I know what I'm talking about more than they do. Why are they doing this? But that's how they kind of like grab control of something. So going back to your speciality, going back to the reason, going back to how good you are at expressing that. Then we have form, memory, repression, and presumptuousness. Okay. I think with the Renaissance thing here, the higher self, you brought through a lot of energy from a past life. Like I swear to God, you've been doing art or music or something if you're not doing it now. And that's coming into this. So I think the more that you can bring that memory in, the better. Don't repress those sort of energies. And equally, don't presume everybody else has them. You have a specialty that others don't have. So it's sort of like not everybody's going to get it instantly. And sight, vision, yeah, visionary, sense higher self. So that's definitely there. What you see, pay attention to what you see. Blindness, yeah, don't be blinded by kind of aggression or emotional dynamics. And disregard, don't disregard anything that you see because you're really focused. See how focused this person is? Like the conductor has to see everything that's going on. And don't get overwhelmed with all the people. It's kind of, this is where you go to your higher self. You step back and you look at it. And then you have the kind of the way to balance it all and make all the music operate well, if you get what I mean. Let's get you a couple of spiritual guides. Archangel Zadkiel, transmutation, mercy, violet flame. Yeah, this is I'm going to put over here, this is a very spiritual thing. You are very connected spiritually as a Renaissance person. You're meant to transform things. That's what you're meant to do. That's why the kind of the competitors that are more thinking, let's just kind of go with the flow, you're ahead of them, but they are formidable because I think you're in environments that have a bit of difficulty with something new, but this is an energy to really help you. And we have Archangel Metatron, this is like, that's the Renaissance person again, spiritual power, sacred geometry, esoteric wisdom. You do bring a lot of spiritual stuff into this, even if it isn't a spiritual business. If it's a spiritual business, then if it's a spiritual business, actually, and I'm going to say this because quite a few of the people who come to my channel are actually spiritual people in their business life. I think that you have some particular specialty around all this, but you understand the other bits. So it'd be like you had all the clear senses, but one was really strong. But like that's just an example. But I think your competitors, they like established ways of doing things. Like, oh, this is the Reiki way, or this is the law of attraction way, or whatever it is. You're taking it to the next step, and remember that. Metatron's with you, Zadkiel's with you. Okay, let's get some stars to guide you as well. Trine, things will be easier than you think. And yeah, beautifully in harmony. You can make things easier for people, actually. I think you can help other people who are shy. I think that might be part of it. Pluto, yeah, you're meant to transform. The new, transformative energy. The people that are your competitors are much more, let's have the status quo, but you're here to transform things. And Libra, you'll be very fair about it, very balanced with it. Just as a conductor is balanced, just collaboration is balanced, all of that kind of energy. It's going to be easier than you think, but it's big. What you're doing is big, whatever it is. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to go back to the career oracle. And we're going to just pull two cards that are kind of either undiscovered within you or unseen as yet, by others, or only vaguely seen by others. Other elements of you that will help you turbocharge what you're trying to do. So things to consider. So the innovator, well, surprise, surprise. Sorry, but this is what I've been banging on about during this reading all the way through. And the assertiveness ambassador, there is something about this. There's something about the social stuff. Okay, so Innovation. I think at the moment you're seen as being extremely good at something, probably very futuristic, whether it's AI and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have to be a tech head, but like you're seen as like kind of bit cutting edge around things, really good at one particular thing, but also able to understand how to work with others and connect with others. But I think you're in environments that haven't yet really clicked into that new thing, and this is the next step. This is why the innovation that you can bring in is so powerful. And assertiveness, you've got to deal with blocks, and you're going to show this. So you become assertive in what you do, but you actually show other people how to do it. I think there's something in all of this where you're also helping to bring out other people who are maybe, the nerds. Like they say nerds are going to rule the world, like brilliant people, and you may well be a nerd. Like we need people who can do this. But it's like, I think you're going to bring other people out. I think you're going to start to set up a way of doing things in a business or in the organisation or whatever it is that brings people out of their shells, because you know what that is to do that. And I think that's one of the things that people are going to really celebrate about you. So that's really wonderful. So I hope that this resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.